Hi and welcome to this video overview. In this video I'm excited to introduce to you Caspio 8.1 and all the new features that come with this release. So what's new inside 8.1? We now have the ability to add a placeholder text that gives us the ability to now position labels inside the fields. New in 8.1 is also the ability to do a password strength, which allows us to control the level of the difficulty that a password can be set to. For example, weak, fierce, good, or strong. We've also added the ability for rollover hint, which is a great way to add more instructions for each field using a pop-up window. We have the ability to now edit and control the width of our fields and also our columns inside a results page in terms of pixels, percentages, and also auto-detect. We have expanded cascading form fields, which allows us to now cascade elements on more than just drop-downs. We can now cascade on text fields, autocomplete, radio buttons, and more. We've also added the ability for table-driven radio buttons, so if you had a lookup table, you can also apply that lookup table to your radio buttons. Another exciting feature inside the new 8.1 release is the ability to do an image auto-rotation, which is an intelligent way for Caspio to fix the orientation of the image. So for example, if your image is uploaded in a 90 degrees counterclockwise direction, Caspio is smart enough to know to fix the orientation of the image in its correct format based on the meta tags of that specific image. In this release, we are also uploading 11 new styles that will be inside the account upon the 8.1 release. And now let's take a closer look at each one of these new features. Here I have my submission form, and you can see at the very top that I put my labels inside the fields. Before, we can put the label on top and also to the left of the fields. We can now add the labels inside. And to do this, it's very simple. Go inside your Caspio account, edit your form, and once you get to the configuration screen, enable the Advanced tab, and right over here you're going to see a text field where you can drop your placeholder. The next feature is the rollover hint, which has a pop-up and additional instructions for the users. Similar to the placeholder, if you go down to that specific field, in the Advanced tab, you're going to be able to have a hint. So just type in your text over here, and that's going to create your rollover hint. Underneath that, you're going to see this progress bar, which allows us to control the strength of the password. So if you go to the Standard tab, you're going to be able to see this newly added checkbox that allows you to set a minimum strength required on all of your passwords. Also, let's talk a little bit about the field width. If I go down to my address field, you're going to be able to see that I have 414 pixels added to my address field. So this ability now to have either characters, pixels, or percentages really allows for greater variety of fields and how you customize the layout of your form. I'm going to give you a quick example. So let's say we set this to 450 pixels and click on Finish, refresh, and you now get to see that field expand an additional 36 pixels. Another addition to this release is the ability to now do a radio button lookup. So if I were to select, let's say, a VP of Sales, you're going to be able to see how we limit the number of radio buttons that you can actually select. If I select Web Developer, you can now see that you can only apply for these two specific position types. And to do this in Caspio, you're going to basically go to your account, edit your form, and again, once you get to the configuration screen and you go to position type, right over here you're going to be able to select cascading radio buttons. And as you can see, we can now also do cascading autocomplete, text field, and before we could always do list box and drop down. So that's a great new addition to the 8.1 release and also the Caspio platform. And let me now demonstrate a different way to use cascading text fields. So here's your typical order form. You can pull up a customer number, and before, users had to either do a cascading dropdown to pre-populate all of these fields. What we can do now is just simply pull up a customer number, and this will populate the rest of the fields. That way you don't have to spend too much time and tediously input all of the customer information prior to submitting the order. If I pull up a different customer, it's going to populate my fields with different customer information. And this is based on a lookup table. And now all you have to do is submit the quantity, price per item, and make your submission. Moving down the registration form, we also now have the ability, like I mentioned earlier, to fix the auto rotation of the image that you're uploading inside Caspio. And this is a very simple thing to do inside the data page wizard. If you go down to that picture field, you will now see a checkbox that allows you to do auto rotation. And as I was saying, if you enable this, and let's say the image that you upload is in a counterclockwise direction, Caspio is now smart enough to recognize that and fix the orientation of the image. Let's move on to the results page now to show you some additional features here. We now also have the ability to add the hint on the column heading, and we now have a greater control over the field width in terms of the columns. I'm going to give you a quick example of this. If I edit my results data page, and once you tab over to the configuration screen, you can see the job title is set to 10% column width. Well, what do we do? Why don't we change this to 40% and see how that affects the look and feel of our results page. Click Finish, refresh, and now you can see how the field width or the column width is now 40%. Just keep in mind when you're doing this that the full width is always going to be 100%. And you do have to take into account that all of your other columns that you have will be affected based on how you change the width of all of your other columns. You have to make sure you have enough space to fit all the columns. Well, that concludes the video on our latest 8.1 release. We hope you enjoy the latest features and don't hesitate to contact us if you have any further questions. Thanks for watching.